Today, we're going to go ahead and do a quick edit inside of Luminar Neo. If you were thinking about purchasing this software, well, right now it's on sale. And if you use coupon code FWP10, you'll get to save a little bit of money in the process. I do make a commission, but that's at no extra charge to you. It's a win-win. Now let's go ahead and jump into the computer and take a look at how we can edit photos using Luminar Neo. Here we are inside of the computer, and we're going to go ahead and start off by applying a Develop Raw filter. So I'm going to click on Develop Raw, and I'm going to leave the camera profile set to Luminar default. I think that that works out just fine for this image. And so we're going to jump into the light section. And inside of the light section, I'm probably going to leave exposure alone for now. And what I want to do is kind of raise the shadows just to bring a little bit more life back into the image, and then maybe even increase the highlights. I want to go for kind of a brighter, warm tone. So we're going to make that happen here. And then I'm also going to increase the smart contrast, because I always think that raw images, they need more contrast. And the way that I like to build said contrast inside of Luminar Neo is using this smart contrast slider. Once that's done, we'll minimize the light section. Let's open up the black and whites. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull my black point down, just so that way I'm introducing a little bit more darkness to the image, and again, building that contrast. And then I'll experiment with pulling the whites up just a bit here, and I like what we're getting. So holding down the backslash key, here's the before and here's the after. I actually really like where this is headed, but we still got some more work to do. I'm going to skip over curves because I don't think I need it for this particular image. And then we're going to jump into color. Now, what I do here, if I believe the white balance is good, which I think for this image, the white balance is fine as it is. But what I want to do is increase the saturation and the vibrance, so that way I have a little bit more control over the edit later on down the line. I may want to manipulate the colors, I may not, but a raw image, there's usually not that much color in the file, and so you have to give it just a little bit of a bump, so that way you get some more color. So now we'll go ahead and close that one down, and I'm going to come to sharpness. And what I like to do with sharpness is zoom in to an area where I believe there should be detail. So these feathers should definitely have some detail. I'm just going to go ahead and pull up on the sharpen slider here until I see some detail where I like it. And so if I turn this off and on, I like what the develop module is doing overall. And then the last thing that we want to do, I'm going to zoom out for this, is come down to optics. And then we're just going to go ahead and turn on auto distortion corrections and auto fix chromatic aberrations. And so this just fixes any of those issues with your lens. And I really enjoy having that done. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close Develop Raw, and we're going to jump into the Crop AI, or just the cropping tool. And I'm going to use Composition AI for this one just to see what it does. I like to start with the AI composition tool because it really does help me kind of visualize how I want to, I guess, create the image or create the frame. And so to me, this looks pretty good. I'm going to leave it as is and hit apply. And so now that I have the image, the develop raw settings done, and I have it cropped essentially where I want it to be, now I kind of look around the frame and I find the things that are distracting me from the primary subject, which is this goose right here. Now, I don't like these blue things that are in here. I don't know what they are. And so I'm going to get rid of those. To do that, I'm going to use the eraser tool. So it's very simple. You just click on it, you paint over the areas that you want to erase. And I recommend that you do this one item at a time. It may take you a little bit more time, but it's worth it. And so for today's purposes, since there's only two, it's not going to take that long. I'll erase that one, and I like what I got there, or at least I'm okay with it. And I'll just go ahead and paint over this one, hit erase. And I'm also okay with that. And so now I feel like by having those distractions or those two blue things removed, it's going to make this image just a little bit cleaner. Your photo may require something more, but if you are good with that, then there you go. So we'll go ahead and actually get rid of this little stick that's popping up there as well. And these are things that are minor, so you don't really have to do that one, but I just felt like that needed to go away. All right. Now that I have that done, we'll close the eraser. And the next step is for me to work with the color. And, again, here's the before. It's a pretty flat, dull image. And so far, we've gotten a little bit of life back, but I feel like I can get a little bit more back. So let's go ahead and click on color. And I'm going to push up on the vibrance quite a bit here. And I'm okay with that, but I need to drop down into the HSL section. And what I want to do is get rid of some of this green look in here. To do that, I'm going to come into saturation, come to the greens, and I'm going to desaturate it just a bit. And then I'm also going to come over here to the drop down and select hue. And then in the hues, I'm going to come to the greens and I'm just going to pull those over towards orange just a little bit. And you can see it starts to mute those greens and kind of bring them more into that orangish range. And then I'm also going to pull the yellows over to the left. And so now I'm starting to get like this brown look to the overall image. And I think that that's overall okay. Again, I'm going for a warmer tone here in this photo. So we'll make this all work out. And so now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and close off the color. And the next thing that I want to do here is probably going to be found in the landscape section. And so we will add in, I think it's going to be landscape, and we're going to add in some golden hour. And so we'll let that apply to the image. And look at that. That to me, it just looks really, really good. I like the way that it kind of brings the whole image together. And so if I turn it off and then turn it back on, you can see what it's doing to the overall photo. And so now I'm ready to start working with more of that light in the image. And so everything is essentially bright all around. And so this is where masking comes into play. I'm going to come back to essentials. So let's minimize the landscape section and even the portrait. We'll come into essentials and then I'm going to go with develop and light. I'm just going to go ahead and pull down on the exposure here. And I'm going to apply a radial gradient. Something like this. I need to make it, there we go. I rotated it, that's why. So we'll rotate it back and let's just pull that out. And I want to put it like right on the goose here. Boom. Okay. And then I want to invert this because right now where you see the red, that means the goose is going to be impacted by this negative exposure. I don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and invert that and kind of make this soft vignette around the goose. We'll even feather or pull this out just a little bit further. And then when we go back, you'll see now I really have applied some light around this goose. And I'm enjoying that. I really do like what we're getting here. Now this area is still a little too bright for me. And so we're just going to go ahead and close down that instance of develop, open up another one. And we're going to make this area a little bit darker, but this time we're going to use a different tool. We'll pull this down and let's even pull down on some of these highlights and grab a linear gradient this time. And simple tools really do go a long way in photo editing. And so you don't need the fanciest tools to get good selections on your images and make amazing looking art. All right. And so we'll go ahead and pull that back. And I'll even pull this down just a little bit further. And so I think that this is helping with darkening down that area just a little bit more and brings the attention onto the goose. Now, I feel like the top portion can probably also use a little bit more darkening. And so, guess what? I'm just going to add in another develop, pull down this exposure here, and then we're going to go to masking, and I'm going to use another linear gradient. And this time, I'm just going to pull it down into the actual left corner here. And then if I back this out, and that looks a little too dark for me. And so let's just go ahead and pull that back just a bit more. And so here it is without it, and here it is with it. And so you can see we're starting to make like this more intimate moment with the goose, which I really do enjoy. Now, the goose's eye is getting lost in the frame. And so in order for us to bring that back, we're just going to use another develop section or another develop filter. I'm going to increase the exposure until we see the eye, and there the eye is. We're going to come to masking. I'm going to grab a brush. I'm going to pull the strength all the way down. And then I'm going to make my brush size smaller using the left bracket key. And I'm just going to paint over the eye. Now, you're probably wondering, like, Chris, why did you make your strength so low? Well, when you make the strength low, what it allows you to do is kind of paint over it multiple times and then build up the effect. And that's ultimately what I want to do right here with this. And so I'm just painting it over little by little, and it's starting to develop the eye. And so now the eye starts to pop. Now, again, you always want to make sure that you zoom out and look at your image holistically before you commit to anything. So if I turn off that adjustment and turn it back on, you can see the eye is starting to pop there. And so now I can come back to adjustments and probably even add in some contrast into that area to help with the overall blending to make this look like it's a little bit more natural, and maybe even increase a little bit of the highlights to give kind of that sparkle in the goose's eye. And I think that this looks pretty good. So here's the before, and here is the after in this image. Now it's your turn to edit this image. In the description box below, you'll find a link to download this file, and then you can edit it using Luminar Neo. Once you get done with that, if you want to share it, I'd love to have you tag me over on Instagram. All of my handle information is found in the description box below, and I'd love to see your images. Again, Luminar Neo is on sale right now for the summer, and you can save a little bit of extra money using FWP10 when you check out over on the Skyloom website. If you got questions about Luminar Neo, let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.